This video is going to be a film study look at Levi Onwuzurike, the fourth-year defensive tackle slash defensive end hybrid in some respects, who now has 1.5 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, I think 10 tackles through 4 games. It's a massive upgrade or uptick in production compared to his first 3 years. Of course, he didn't play in 2022 because of a back injury. Just so you know, for context, over the course of 2 seasons, 2021 and 2023, played 26 career games. Significantly less snaps per game than we're seeing now in 2024. But this comparison I'm going to make here in a moment, I think is still important. In those 26 career games prior to 2024, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits total. In 4 games this year, he's got 1.5 sacks. Actually, it's 3. He's involved in 3 sacks. Excuse me, let me restate that. 5 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble in only 4 games heading into the bye. Is he going to mitigate the losses of Davenport and Derek Barnes? Well, no. It's going to be by committee unless the Lions go outside the building. That's not the focus of this video. What I want to do here is just show you that I think Onwuzurike's playing extremely well. Moved across various locations. He's relentless, first of all. He's more agile than people may expect at I think 6'3", 285, 290. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Kaminsky in terms of the alignment that they give him, but the athleticism that he offers is off the charts. Violent hands. Him and DJ Reader on the field at the same time as Aleem McNeil in base defensive looks is pretty incredible. I'm tempted to say I'd like to see him as the boundary side defensive end at times, but he doesn't offer anything near to what Derek Barnes would offer in those situations as far as dropping out in coverage. What I did for the film here today was I broke it up into 3 sections. So the first part will be the sacks that he's involved in so far this year, and then the significant amount of film, I think 6 or 7 plays of his play against the run, and these are just representative samples. I'm not going to show you 30, 35 plays. And then finally, some miscellaneous or somewhat surprising reps that you see of him dropping into coverage or pursuing towards the sideline. So week 1 against the Rams, of course, DJ Reader didn't play, but Aleem McNeil and Onwuzurike did. He gets a split sack here along with Davenport. It's kind of difficult to watch some of the Davenport film now because it's so disappointing that the guy's out for a long time or perhaps the entire year, because I thought he was playing extremely well. But Onwuzurike is a guy who has a tendency or an ability to split double teams at times, number 1. Number 2, he's very violent and quick with his hands. I like the over-the-top swim move from taller guys at times. Sometimes I think shorter guys with short arms they give up their chest too much. There's not as much space between them and the offensive lineman that they're trying to swim over the top of. Swim moves at the NFL level are different than they are at other levels. We would never teach it to some of our high school guys, very rarely. But in this case, Onwuzurike, big, long arms, very strong, gets around here quite quickly. And I've got 3 instances, not necessarily in this film study video, of him using swim moves successfully to get by people. So we're moving on now to week 2. And I love the awareness during the middle of this play. It's a stunt. So Onwuzurike is here on the right side. He's going to stunt all the way around. He does get picked up. And when you get the end zone angle, I'll try to explain what I mean when I say the awareness. For a guy who didn't play a ton over the course of a 3-year career, again, 26 games in 3 years, I'm a little impressed by his versatility. This is a 3rd and 7, by the way, against the Bucs in week 2. Same play, end zone angle. So watch him as he loops all the way around here. I think he realizes during the play that it's not going to work, meaning he's going to get picked up. So the guard, I think it's Mouch or Malch, however you say it, has initially dealt with McNeil and now is going to step out to him. And I think Onwuzurike knows that he's going to get picked up. He can recognize it right now. So instead of trying to rip underneath to the outside, to his left on our screen right now, he tries to go ahead and use the hump move a little bit on the guard. He actually gets credit for half a sack along with Aiden Hutchinson. He plays downhill when he's rushing the quarterback. Is he going to get 8, 10 sacks a season? I wouldn't say that. However, we are through 4 games here, and he has 3 separate instances of getting to the quarterback and recording half sacks. 1/2 times 3 is 1.5. Additional to that, he's got 2 other situations where I think he's got quarterback pressures, along with 2 quarterback hits. a slow rush here last week against the Seahawks. I really do like him lined up opposite Aiden Hutchinson. And what I mean by that is I wish there was, I kind of like the power rush alignment from the boundary being the 3 technique and the 5. So providing no escape lane there, letting Aiden Hutchinson do his work from the top side, whether it's an outside move, an inside spin, whatever. But and I'll show the end zone angle of this one. I like him being lined up opposite of Hutchinson. So Hutchinson's getting a topside rush here, and then Onwuzurike just slow rush. I think both D tackles here are in, I don't want to say a spy alignment, but they're not trying to run a move. They're not trying to pick a side. In my opinion, they're just trying to set the guards and or center back to the quarterback. So one of the 2 times in the game, I think there was a ball on the ground by the Seahawks quarterback, Geno Smith, and unfortunately, Lions unable to get it. Same play, end zone angle. It's a 5-man protection scheme by the Seahawks. I thought the Seahawks offensive line did a better job during the game than a lot of us thought going in. Still, 6 or 8 times where Hutchinson's got clean wins. It's just Geno Smith getting rid of the ball so quickly made it impossible, or damn near impossible, to get a sack. Onwuzurike's got this ability, despite his height, to be able to take shorter guards and kind of walk them backwards. It's the long arms, controlling them. I think he's got really strong, arms, wrists, hand strength, whatever, because he's able to control guys violently with the first strike and throughout the course of the engagement. So what I call the engagement is now we're engaged. We've got our hands on each other trying to run different moves. Throughout the course of the engagement, Onwuzurike at worst is in a neutral position generally. He's very rarely in a losing position. So we'll move on to some run stuff. You're going to have to notice and talk about DJ Reader here. Onwuzurike is also up here in the 4-eye position against, I think it's Wirfs. So 1st and 10, week 2 against the Bucs. There's a lot to say here about the weak side run fits. Onwuzurike's in this 4-eye. Reader a dominant rep here. Barnes is going to come down and collapse everything. You get this really tight wall built here at the point of attack on the split zone. Something to be said about Onwuzurike's ability to have his head on the inside and then see where the football is and then get back to the outside here. He gets involved. I think Barnes makes the play. It's an attempted cut by the tight end. Barnes does a beautiful job of sprawling and then making first contact on White. But Onwuzurike, whose head was just over on this side, has now been able to get it worked back over to the play side. Basically, 2-gap technique from a 4-eye position against Wirfs, who I think is a pretty good football player. We'll rewind this back to the All-22. Got to show you something about DJ Reader. First, the hands, extremely active immediately. The punch is so quick. He's got control of the center immediately. And once I unpause this, you'll see the strength that this man can uncoil on anyone and everyone that tries to deal with him from a run blocking standpoint. Moving on, some more Onwuzurike film. He's almost in a head-up alignment against the tight end here. Again, week 2 against the Bucs. Just a real mismatch, asking a tight end to deal with him. Does pretty much the same thing that he did from an inside position against Wirfs on the previous snap that I showed you. This is almost head up, like I said, but you can see he is inside shade of this tight end. So 7 technique, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it 6-eye. Head to the inside now. Able to see the football. Kirby Joseph, great job reading and filling this gap between the 2 tight ends as well. And then Onwuzurike able to fold over the top, get his head back into the play side gap. He does get credit for the tackle. It's a 1-yard gain. I'll give you the All-22 angle of it so you can see how quickly Kirby Joseph is triggered downhill now. Again, 2nd and 6. I believe the Bucs' second possession of that game in week 2. The trio of McNeil, Reader, and Onwuzurike on the field at the same time is very tempting to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, but of course, in pass rush situations, you're almost in the same dynamic as you were last year in that who is going to get to the quarterback opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Lee McNeil, I think, is certainly someone that looks like he could put up 6 or 8 sacks, but let's get to the Onwuzurike breakdown again. He's in a 4-eye again, so he's inside shade of this left tackle. Watch how violent the hands are. I'll strike this one back multiple times so you can see Onwuzurike take on the tackle and just violently set him back. I mean, yeah, there's some contact, maybe the chin, the neck area. Folding down inside. DJ Reader doing a great job as well, even though he ends up on his back. Nice combo by the left guard low on DJ Reader's hip. As a result of the guard working to DJ Reader, the backside defensive tackle, in this case Onwuzurike, able to fold down, make the tackle on Connor. It does end up being a 4-yard gain. I'll give you the end zone angle so you can see it. The guy can work from that 4-eye position. You saw against Worse, we had the reverse view. He was able to keep his head to the inside and then fold back to the outside to make the tackle when the running back went to that outside gap. It's drawn up opposite as it occurred, so forgive me for that. But additional to this, now that his head's, he's basically leveraged the left tackle in order, meaning he's lined up closer to the point of attack than the left tackle is. You can't scoop him either. He almost reminds me a little bit of Justin Madubuike, except he's a little longer and a little bigger from a frame standpoint. He's a violent guy, fits in well with McNeil and Reader at the same time. I'm not sure how they get that done more often unless teams are in their base personnel. It's a unique play here, man. It's against the Seahawks the other night. It's third quarter. It's a 1st and 10. Aiden Hutchinson gets a quick jump. I thought he jumped off sides live speed. Onwuzurike is initially lined up to the left-hand side of the defense, our right-hand side of the screen. Jack Campbell's trying to move him. I think that Jack Campbell, man, I had a hard time with these numbers, to be honest with you, against this backdrop of the jersey. Unfortunately, Onwuzurike ends up moving to the inside here, so credit to the offensive lineman for influencing him or opening the gate there. It's a screen over here to Kenneth Walker. And then Onwuzurike at 6'3", 290. He gears down a little bit there. He actually does get credit for the tackle, even though I think he made contact right at the sideline, perhaps out of bounds. I'm not trying to laugh about the fact that Kenneth Walker the third got tackled out of bounds, but just the fact that a man that big and that strong can make the play over there to that side after initially lining up on the opposite side of the field and then being shifted or moved over by Jack Campbell. Really weird alignment by the Lions defensive line. At that point, they have no edge defender at all to the side because Onwuzurike's been kicked over there. Almost seemed like they knew something about the screen, but who knows. A couple of other somewhat anomalous situations that I think illustrate his athleticism. It's a screen to JSN. Alex Anzalone clearly checking them into something. This is Onwuzurike all by himself. Before the motion, again, lined up in this 4-eye. I think he does a great job in this 4-eye. Dealing with, basically, he can be a 2-gap player. He can play the B-gap to the inside of the tackle, can play the C-gap. There's a screen out here. Doesn't let the tackle deter him at all. Gets out, tackles JSN for a 2-yard gain out in some space. It is a screen that's relatively close to him. You'll see it from the all-22 angle here. Perhaps you disagree. You know, he has a sack and a half, 5 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble. I think the stats illustrate to you the impact. They make it obvious. I just did a film study video on a defensive tackle for the Ravens named Travis Jones, who doesn't have a single sack, and unless I did my research wrong, isn't credited with any quarterback hits. I have him down for 2 or 3 quarterback hits, but I'm using him to kind of parlay into Levi Onwuzurike because Travis Jones is balling. He's playing really well. Doesn't have a single sack through 4 games. Onwuzurike has a sack and a half. Even if he didn't have a forced fumble and 5 quarterback hits, his activity level, his willingness to engage, his violent strikes with his hands is pretty shocking, if you ask me. One snap or usage / deployment of Onwuzurike that's even more shocking or surprising is this 1st and 10 pass is actually a sack by Malcolm Rodriguez. The Lions are utilizing Alex Anzalone to play half-field safety post-snap. He's certainly not lined up at safety. Additional to that, Onwuzurike is dropping out. This is proof positive that he is playing the position on this particular snap, at least, not on every play. This is the position that Derek Barnes would be utilized in. He's dropping back to play on the hash where Anzalone is lined up, basically hook to curl. Anzalone is dropping back to be a deep halves defender. I did a One Play Wednesday video on this one. I love the way Malcolm Rodriguez plays football. He's all out, a lot of contact. He looks like a guy that would be awful to deal with if you were playing basketball against him. I'm talking about Rodriguez looping around to the outside. So the blitz on the outside of where Hutchinson is, I think that's smart. Anzalone's foot here, you can see. Onwuzurike is going to drop out. I'm not saying I want to see him do this 4, 5, 6, 7 times a game. I think this is illustrative of what the coaching staff trusts him to do, though. Because, first of all, Derek Barnes is really good at these things, lining up on the line of scrimmage, dropping out in the flats, and basically getting in the throwing window oftentimes such that the quarterback has to move on to the next read. Is Onwuzurike going to do all those things? Just spot drop him, meaning just tell them get to a spot. Depending on where the ball is, whether it's in the middle of the field, on the hash, whatever, give him a spot drop. There's no reason for him. The ball's on the right hash here, obviously, by the way, so dropping to the left hash if you're a hash defender is a good thing. It's a 4 under, 2 deep. It shouldn't surprise us that Onwuzurike is more shallow or doesn't have the depth of the other 3 second-level defenders. Alex Anzalone is being used as a half-field safety. Pretty incredible, if you ask me. What I mean by saying let's absolve him of having to get to the same depth as the other second-level defenders is the reason because of that. Onwuzurike's on the line of scrimmage. All the other second-level defenders lined up at the second level already. They were already heels depth at the second level. It's always going to be more difficult for a defensive lineman, outside linebacker, whatever, or mugged up inside linebacker to get such depth. They can get out there into the same depth as a corner or a nickel defender. I think Onwuzurike's playing incredibly well, even better than the stats display. I think it's possible that the Lions coaches evaluate the film this week, or probably already have, I should say, and decide that Onwuzurike is going to be a guy who's going to get a ton of reps at the 4-eye position. He's really good at it. And then some boundary side snaps at 5 technique. Do his pass rush skills translate out there to the outside? No, I would not say that I would project they would. However, to be real, I don't think Josh Paschal has superior pass rush skills and moves or fast twitch movements compared to Onwuzurike. Nonetheless, because of their depth out there, number one, Davenport being out for so long and or being out for the season, Derek Barnes being injured, I think 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. James Houston IV, pains me to say this, but obviously at this point has not been able to have an impact at all. I do wonder, if he got more opportunities as a pass rusher, if he'd be able to get into a flow, set up some moves. But at this point, you can't say that he's earned more reps. Onwuzurike is active. He's disruptive. He's hostile as can be against blockers and ball carriers. I think he's playing extremely well. I don't know about you as a Lions fan, what you would have anticipated or what you would have said, what's the best case scenario for Levi Onwuzurike through 4 games? I think we're there. I think we're there. For me personally, I would have taken a sack and a half or 3 separate instances of being involved in sacks. I think the activity level is extremely high. Love the player. Glad to see the story working out. Hopefully he plays really well this season, but doesn't price himself out of Detroit. If you think that's far-fetched, it is not. 4th-year players who don't have a 5th-year option, because he wasn't a first-round pick, you almost don't want to see him get to like an 8 or 10 sack number, because then now other teams are going to be bidding for that player, particularly at his size and activity level and athleticism. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study video look at Levi Onwuzurike, please let me know in the comments section. Number 1. Number 2, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help other Lions fans get some exposure to it as well. Finally, I do plan on conducting at least one live stream about the Lions this week upcoming on the bye. And so as such, I would like to inquire, or ask you, I should say, to provide me some things you'd like for me to cover in that live stream video, such that I can prepare, film, and answer verbally during the live stream, number 1, but also display film that kind of illustrates my point. Appreciate you guys' time.